Okay, here's a quick video on the second one. I think it's a good idea usually to write the trig identity, but then underneath here, just write ratio, 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 ratio. Don't like shove angles in there. You know what I mean? Just know that you're going to spit out a ratio. This is going to give you a ratio, 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 ratio. Now, why do I need the bow tie? Well, because this is sine and it is in quadrant 4. So I do opposite over hypotenuse, and I know it's a 3, 4, 5. You could do Pythagorean theorem. And then the other one's in a different quadrant. Beta is in quadrant 1, and it's what? Cosine. So ca, let's see, so ca, adjacent over hypotenuse. And again, this is a Pythagorean triple, but if you don't know it, if you know the hypotenuse, you're going to end up subtracting, because you have like a squared plus what? 144 equals the 169, and then square it. Okay, and this tells you the signs because of vectors like going to the right and down. So then I can just look at my two triangles to get these. Now, could you get them by doing other things like cosine plus sine squared equals 1 and solving? And yeah, but you just got to watch your signs. Okay, this one, remember, I'm telling you to use a half angle, but remember, basically, first of all, let's figure out what alpha is. I'm right here, so I'm at a 45. The half angle would be 22.5, right? So remember, when you're using the half angle, you double it. So the 45 is the double. This is the doubled, okay? All right, so there's this form of it, and there's this form. I think your cheat sheet has this one on it. It's the same thing. They just pull the half out. You have to decide the sign. Half of 90 is 45. I mean, we're definitely in quadrant 1. But again, you need a common denominator, so like 2 over 2. So you get 2 plus square root of 2 over 2. And then when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So that's where that half comes in. Okay, so either format, you get a common denominator, 2 plus radical 2 over 2, and then distribute. And then 1 doesn't change that. That's 4. And the square root of 4 is 2. Okay. This one was supposed to be one multiply problem, right? It didn't look like it. So some of you did other things. That's fine. So product to sum, here's your formula, cosine, cosine, half, and then I just filled in the blanks. Subtract the angles, add them, then look at the unit circle, 60, right? Will give you a half for the cosine. Look up here, that'll give you 90, which is what? 0 is your cosine there. So you get half of a half. All right, let's look at the next page. You could do this either way. Most of you like the sum. And again, I think it's a good idea to write the formula and then just fill in the blanks for ratio, 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 ratio. Because these guys eat angles. They don't eat ratios. They spit them out. So then again, I did 120 and 45. Okay. If you wanted to, doubling 165 is 330, which is on the unit circle. So if you double it so that you can take half of it, because half of it is not on the unit circle, that's the half angle theorem. So you can do that as well. I did both. These are mathematically the same. They don't look the same, but they are. All right, next one, pi over 12. I did 4 pi over 12 minus 3 pi over 12 because that equals 1 pi over 12. And I wrote them in, unit circle form. Wrote the formula. Again, I just fill in the blanks, 4 ratios. And then fill these in, square root of 6, fill these in, square root of 2. You can subtract them all over common denominator 4. The other thing is pi over 12 is actually half of pi over 6. So if you have to double it so that you can take half of it, you're using the half angle. So again, you can do either or, okay? This one you have to decide the sign. That's the tricky part of the half angle, is you got to pay attention to where you're at. Trig identities here. This one's a nice one. Changes to sine over cosine, cosine over sine. These cancel, so do these. So you get a big 1. All of that cancels. You equal 1. 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. And that's because of the Pythagorean cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. It's just that they did what? Subtract that over. Okay, so that one's an easy one. This one, there's actually lots of ways to do it. This time around, I replaced this with this. And then I did sum to product or product to sum. So I did this 2 came out, right? And then I did a half, and I did the sum and the product. And then I have my 2 with my half from the formula. I got sine of this. This is sine of 0. Again, 2 from up here. The half is from the formula. I get this. The sine is 0, 0 on the unit circle. And then 2 and a half, or 2 times a half, I should say. Those cancel out, give you 1. I get sine of 4x. There's multiple ways to do that. This one, again, if you're stuck, if you have math, do math. So I got a common denominator, multiply by 1 minus cosine, sine and sine. I FOILed this out first. Outside, inside, you get a negative cosine twice, so -2, and then negative times negative is a positive cosine squared, and then sine times sine is sine squared. Okay, cosine squared and sine squared will make a 1, and I guess I just put my 1 up there. 1 plus 1 is 2, and then I leave this factor because I'm hoping something will cancel. Factor out the 2, these cancel. 2 over sine is the same as 2 times cosecant. All right. Hopefully that helps. Again, if you need to look at those more closely, you certainly can. And again, sometimes some methods are, better than others. Where's my front page? And then if you want to see the front page again, there's that. Okay. All right. Okay. If you have questions for me, let me know. But if I give you ratios and you're doing alpha plus beta or minus, draw 2 bow ties and figure out the missing side. Okay. All right. Hopefully that helps you, and take care, and I'll see you soon.